It is often said that old age is a time of peace, spent in the loving embrace of children and grandchildren, enjoying happy days surrounded by family. But is that true for everyone? In a small corner of New York City, in an old apartment perched on the top floor of a residential building, lived an elderly man named Walter. At 78 years old, Walter once had everything: a happy family, a devoted wife who stood by his side, and 2 successful sons. But now, the only companion he had was the silence that filled his home and the fading photographs of memories long gone. Every day for Walter began the same way. He would wake up early, brew a cup of tea, and quietly sit by the window, gazing down at the bustling streets below. The people passing by seemed completely unaware of the elderly man watching their lives unfold from above. He would sit there for hours, until the daylight faded, but the thing he waited for never came. A knock at the door, a phone call from his children, or even a simple word of concern. These were the things Walter once thought he would always have. But now they seemed like a distant dream. In these moments of solitude, Walter often found himself lost in memories of the past, a time when his home was always filled with laughter. He recalled the weekend evenings when the whole family gathered around the dining table, sharing stories and basking in the warmth of togetherness. But modern life, with its relentless demands, had swept his sons into its busy currents. His eldest son, James, now lived in California with his wife and children, rarely finding time to call. His younger son, Michael, had moved to Texas for work, occasionally sending brief messages promising to visit soon. These promises had become so routine that Walter no longer placed much hope in them. One evening, after enduring another long day of silence, Walter decided to step outside to experience a change of atmosphere. He walked slowly along the familiar streets, where many of his neighbors no longer remembered his name. As he passed by a park, he saw families laughing and playing together under the dim glow of streetlights. The sight struck him deeply, like a blade piercing his heart, reminding him of how long he had been living in solitude. Standing alone under the faint yellow lights, Walter asked himself, "Is loneliness an inevitable part of growing old?" What Walter didn't realize was that this particular evening would mark the beginning of a habit. While Mr. Walter sat under the awning to shelter from the rain, Emily was not just a stranger. She brought a small ray of light into his life, a life that had long been overshadowed by loneliness. Emily's initial act of kindness, offering him her scarf and sharing a simple conversation, left a deep impression on Mr. Walter. After all, it had been a long time since he had experienced genuine care from anyone. After that evening, Emily kept her promise to visit Mr. Walter. In the following days, after finishing her exhausting shifts at the restaurant, the young woman made time to stop by Mr. Walter's small apartment. Each visit came with a small gift. Sometimes a homemade pastry, other times a simple meal from the restaurant where she worked. At first, Mr. Walter thought it was just a temporary gesture of kindness, but Emily's consistent presence gradually became a part of his life. Emily didn't just bring food, she also brought stories. She shared with him tales of her busy days working at the restaurant, her dream of going to college, and her experiences volunteering to help the homeless. Although Mr. Walter didn't say much, he slowly began to feel a newfound joy. The joy of being listened to and cared for. For Emily, she soon realized that Mr. Walter wasn't just a lonely old man. He was a living archive of vivid memories, filled with fascinating stories from his youth. Once, he recounted how he first met his wife at a small-town party, where he clumsily spilled a drink while trying to impress her. Stories like these made Emily laugh uncontrollably, but they also gave her a glimpse of the deep love and longing Mr. Walter still held for his late wife. One day, as they sat together by the window, Emily turned to Mr. Walter and asked, "Have you ever thought about sharing your stories with others?" Mr. Walter raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Who would want to hear the story of an old man like me?" he asked. Emily smiled warmly. "You have so much to share, Mr. Walter. I believe your stories could inspire so many people. Sometimes the simplest things touch people's hearts the most." Initially, Mr. Walter hesitated, but Emily's persistent encouragement and enthusiasm helped him overcome his reluctance. With her help, he set up a social media account. Emily taught him how to take photos, write posts, and interact with others through comments. His first post was simple, a short story about his late wife and how she had changed his life. "She wasn't just my life partner, she was the guiding light throughout my life," he wrote. When Emily uploaded the post, Mr. Walter didn't expect much, but the response from the online community exceeded his imagination. Within just a few days, his post received hundreds of likes and comments. Many people, especially older adults, shared that they had experienced similar feelings of loneliness. Some younger readers said that his story made them appreciate their loved ones even more. Encouraged by this feedback, Mr. Walter began sharing more stories. He wrote about lessons from his youth, the ups and downs of his marriage, and the regrets of things he hadn't done when he was younger. His posts were not just heartfelt reflections, but also valuable life lessons that anyone could learn from. One particular post that garnered special attention was the story of how Emily had helped him overcome his loneliness. He wrote, "On a dark and rainy evening, I met a young woman with a heart full of light. Emily didn't just give me her scarf to warm my body. She reignited a spark in my soul. She taught me that no matter your age, you can find joy and meaning in life if you're willing to open your heart." This post quickly went viral. It wasn't just older people who resonated with it. Younger readers also expressed gratitude to Emily and Mr. Walter for sharing such an inspiring story. Some even shared that they had decided to visit their parents or grandparents after reading the post, realizing that no one should have to endure loneliness in their later years. From that point on, Mr. Walter's social media account became more than just a platform for sharing his stories. It grew into a community for older adults and those who wanted to learn from them. People began sending him messages, sharing their own stories, and thanking him for creating a space where they no longer felt forgotten. One elderly woman from another state sent Mr. Walter a handwritten letter, which read, "Mr. Walter, your story helped me feel that I'm not alone. I lost my husband 5 years ago, and since then, I didn't know what to do with my life. But thanks to your posts, I've started keeping a journal and finding joy in the little things again." Emily and Mr. Walter were deeply moved by the unexpected impact they were having. Each day, Mr. Walter spent time reading comments and messages, realizing that his life had taken on a new, meaningful purpose. One day, a charitable organization reached out to Emily and Mr. Walter, inviting them to participate in a program for senior citizens. The organization wanted to use their story to encourage younger generations to spend more time caring for their parents and grandparents. Emily eagerly agreed, and although Mr. Walter was initially a bit nervous, he decided to give it a try. They began appearing in online talk sessions where Mr. Walter would recount his journey, and Emily would share practical ways to bring joy to others. The collaboration between two generations created a unique connection that made each session both emotional and impactful. The story of Mr. Walter and Emily is a powerful reminder that it is never too late to find meaning in life. Loneliness is not a destiny, and even the smallest act of kindness can help someone overcome the sadness in their heart. This story also serves as a lesson for all of us about the value of connection and compassion. A small gesture, a sincere question, or a little time spent with the older people in your life can bring about a change far greater than you imagine. Remember, each of us has the potential to be an Emily in someone's story. Your small act of care might just be the light someone desperately needs in their life. The story of Walter and Emily is a truly inspiring example that it is never too late to rediscover the meaning of life. Old age is not a time to sink into loneliness and silence, but an opportunity to find comfort, connection, and joy through genuine relationships. Loneliness, though it may seem inevitable at times, is not a fate we must accept. A little care, a word of encouragement from those around us can help anyone overcome the deepest sadness within. This story also serves as a powerful reminder of the value of connection and sharing in our lives. Sometimes we get caught up in the busy routines of work and daily responsibilities, forgetting that even a small act can have a profound impact. It could be a sincere question, a phone call to check in, or just a bit of time spent with the elderly in our family. These seemingly simple gestures can hold immense meaning for those who feel lost and are in need of companionship. Remember, each of us has the potential to be Emily in someone else's story. You don't need to do something grand or extraordinary. Just a small act, a smile, or a kind word can be the light someone has been hoping for during their darkest days. Your small gesture may become the motivation someone needs to find hope, faith, and meaning in their life. With all the lessons from this story, we want to encourage you, those who are watching this video, to start with yourself. Take the time to care for your grandparents, parents, or anyone you know who might be living in loneliness. A small action from you can not only bring joy to them, but also enrich your own life. If the story of Walter and Emily has touched your heart, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for the Life Stories 365 channel. This is where we share meaningful and inspiring stories about love, kindness, and connection. Each story is a reminder of the power of compassion and hope, helping us all find the beauty in life. Be a part of this journey to spread positivity. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any inspiring stories. Thank you for being with us, and let's build a loving community together where these beautiful values grow every single day.